Everyone in our house loved Shannon so much that my aunt thought the puppy love would only increase with more furry creatures. Imagine my surprise when she came home one afternoon with 2 poodles of her own. My aunt didn't train her dogs, and I didn't want Shannon to regress. So I did what anyone who didn't want to step in poop and piss in the middle of the night would do. I trained them all. I loved them, but the responsibility of 3 dogs and a full-time job weighed on me. I was a secretary working longer hours than normal, and frequently did not arrive home until after 7 p.m. It was a lot of pressure, and I hoped through all this my mother could see my maturity. After all, I was taking care of 3 pups, paying my bills, and obeying her rules. Surely she would be proud, right? Wrong. The biggest stress was about to hit like a tornado. I hit the glass ceiling at my job and felt like it was time to move on. There was another office building nearby, so one day I decided to stroll the halls and drop off my resume at any companies of interest. I walked into a small office and was hired on the spot as the secretary to the big kahuna named Ron. I didn't know it at the time, but that big kahuna would eventually become my husband. Ron was 8 years older than me. He also had a 2-year-old daughter. As we came to know each other better, we fell in love. It was the best time of my life, despite having to keep such a big secret from my mother. One particular evening, after coming home late, my mother and aunt cornered me to ask where I was spending my time every evening when I wasn't home. Working, I told them, and they looked at me with disbelief. They thought it was a coincidence that I was out at night during some of the same hours as Uncle Bill. "Are you having an affair with Uncle Bill?" they asked, to my utter disbelief. It took a moment for their words to sink in. "Are you kidding?" I shouted back at them. The adoration I felt for Uncle Bill had been turned into an illicit affair. Truth be told, I chose that moment to confess my feelings for Ron. Their stares were venomous at the confirmation of my self-indulgent ways. Getting out of that prison had been on my list of things to do, and my confession about Ron made it easy for my mother to make it happen. "Get out," she told me with tightly clenched fists. As expected, bucking the system landed me on the streets. I didn't make much money at the time, so I sold any possessions of value to pay my first month's rent and a deposit. I found a small studio apartment in Seaford, right on the canal, and took a bed, nightstand, chair, clothes, and my 10-speed bike. That was it. I left Shannon with my mother. She wanted the dog, but not her daughter. I was heartbroken to leave Shannon behind, but she was bonded with the other dogs, and I knew it was the right thing to do. My apartment offered little in terms of luxury or space, but it gave me freedom beyond freedom. On weekends, I rode my bike down the Parkway bike path to Jones Beach. It was my exercise, my release, and I did it on my terms, in shorts and a t-shirt. I'd had no idea such joy existed. The day I moved out, at 19, I knew I'd never see my mother or aunt and uncle again. Yet I didn't feel like I was giving up anything. After so many years of fearing the unknown, my eyes were finally open, and the motivation of knowing I could manage on my own put those fears aside for a time. Creating my new life. Ron and I decided we were going to have a future together, but I held on to my apartment for another 6 months, just to make sure I'd made a good choice. Being a mom to a stepdaughter was a whole new world for me. Ron's daughter was 3 years old, but she was behind the curve in terms of certain childhood milestones, so it became my responsibility to help her make some progress. I had to get her out of a crib and into a bed. She wasn't fully potty trained, so I addressed that issue. Despite my new parenting role, the biggest shock of having an instant family to care for was getting and keeping the house clean and organized. When I moved in, Ron's house was in absolute disarray. It took lots of hours and cleaning supplies, but in time, I had everything on track.